Hey, how's it going, everyone? Bass here. So, besides all the news that's going on today in Green Bay, I just wanted to sit down and go over the PFF grades for the last game in Arizona, that electrifying win versus Arizona, 24-21, with that game-winning interception by Rasul Douglas at the end. If you're new here, basically I go over the winners or the high grades, and also the losers or the low grades on both offense and defense. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in this sort of thing, and also leave a like down below. It definitely helps out my channel a lot. And sorry about the delay on this one. I know they played last Thursday and it's already the next Wednesday. Just a lot going on this weekend and this week to begin. Okay, so I'm going to start with the offense and start with the offensive winners in today's video. And first up on this list is running back AJ Dillon. Now, last week he had a very poorly graded game, and I said I expect him to have a big bounce back game against Arizona. And he did. He is the highest graded offensive player this week with an 80.3 overall grade. A.J. Dillon ran the ball 16 times for 78 yards, which is a 4.9 yards per carry average. 61 of those yards came after contact. That's 3.81 yards after contact per attempt. That's insane. A.J. Dillon just did not go down after first hit. A.J. Dillon just reminded me so much of young Eddie Lacy. It seemed like he was bailing out some of the poor run blocking play by the offensive line. He was getting hit at the line of scrimmage. I know on one of the fourth downs, he was pretty much stopped in the backfield, still got the first down. But a couple times where blocks got blown up and he's getting stopped at the line of scrimmage, dude just barreled over guys and still gained 4, 5, 6, 7 yards on those runs. So just an absolute great performance. I love seeing A.J. Dillon run. I cannot say it enough. Next up on this list is a duo of both Dominique Daphne and Josey here, as they both tied for second highest in grade on the offense this week. Both had a 76.7 overall grade. Dominique Daphne here had a 76.8 run block, and then Josey DeGuara here had a 71.5 pass block and a 73.5 run block, so a solid game from both tight ends here. And it's great to see this because we really need both these guys, and then also Mercedes Lewis to really step up. Obviously, with Robert Tonyan going down with that ACL injury, being out for the remainder of the year, someone's going to have to step up. Someone's going to have to take that role, and someone's going to have to take the workload that Robert Tonyan had on that offense, which is being the vertical threat tight end. Although Tonyan didn't have a great season up until this point, now is hurt compared to last year, someone's still going to have to go in there and do it. Take the linebackers deep, go vertical, go up the seam. I think Josey DeGuara can definitely do that. They drafted him in the third round of the 2020 NFL draft. They expect big things of him. I'm excited to see Josey DeGuara get pushed into that starting role, that Robert Tonyan role, and seeing what he can do. Finally, for the offensive winners, we have left tackle, guard, center, wherever you want to play him, Elton Jenkins here. He was the fourth highest graded offensive player this week. This could be his last game at left tackle if David Bakhtiari does return against the Kansas City Chiefs, which would definitely help out Jordan Love a lot. But Elton Jenkins held it down. I mean, he was hurt earlier in the year. He only plays weeks 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. So he was hurt for 3, 4, and 5 for those 3 weeks. But other than that, he really did hold it down. He had a 74.9 overall grade with a 71.4 run block grade and a 75.0 pass block grade. And Elton Jenkins only allowed 1 pressure in 40 pass blocking snaps, and that's mainly against someone like Chandler Jones, who is an insane pass rusher. He's always been a great pass rusher, especially these past few years. It was his first game back being off of COVID, but still, Elton Jenkins pretty much owned him all game. Moving over to the offensive losers side, the lowest graded offensive player this week was Juwan Winfrey. Had to step into the wide receiver role after Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and Devontae Adams were all out, so it left pretty much Randall Cobb and then a bunch of young guys, Juwan Winfrey, Malik Taylor, EQ, Amari Rodgers, and Winfrey did get 54 snaps this game. He got a lot of snaps, but he was the lowest graded player on offense, a 43.7 overall grade and a 49.0 receiving grade. Now, he did catch 4 of his 6 targets for 30 yards, but he also had a couple drops, and I really expected a little bit more from Winfrey after that amazing training camp, how much people and press were talking about him, how he could, surprise us this week going into the Arizona game, and, he did okay. He was just a guy. He really didn't do anything to wow you or impress you. He caught a few balls, he dropped a few, so kind of was just there. Don't expect much from him going forward. Lastly, for the offensive losers, we have offensive guard Jon Runyan, who is the lowest graded offensive lineman for the Packers this week. And although I love Jon Runyan, I'm kind of glad it's not Newman for once, because I can only talk so much about Newman being such a low-graded guard this year. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, but in the wrong way. He had a 53.0 overall grade, a 56.8 run block, and a 38.1 pass block. Jon Runyon gave up 3 pressures this game. Surprisingly, Turner gave up more with 4 pressures, but Runyon was graded worse. And Jon Runyon usually plays better than this, but it might make the Newman/Runyon decision even harder when Josh Myers does return, given that Bakhtiari will be back, and then Josh Myers returning will slide Elton Jenkins to guard. And then you got to choose, as I said, probably 15 times at this point, you got to choose between Runyon and Newman to play that right guard spot. My thought was Runyon going forward. I thought he has been playing a lot better this year, but, real bad game here. If he starts to play not as good and say Runyon starts to play better, makes that decision so much harder. Now flipping it over to the defense, let's talk about the defensive winners. And the highest graded defender, who might be a surprise to a lot of you, actually is Whitney Merciless this week. He had an 80.9 overall grade, 61.4 run defense, 70.5 tackle grade, and a 78.4 pass rush grade. Merciless had 3 total pressures, 2 hurries, and 1 stop and only 29 snaps. And Merciless is proving to be a great depth signing. I liked it going in when they signed him, having injuries out there with Preston Smith with the oblique injury, Zadarius Smith still being out. Being real thin at that depth spot, at that outside linebacker spot. You can never have enough pass rushers, so I think Whitney Merciless will prove to be, very valuable going forward. Next up is the man you expected, the main man of this game on defense, definitely Rasul Douglas, and he was the second highest graded defender this week with a 72.0 overall grade, 66.6 run defense grade, bad juju, 59.7 tackle grade, and a 71.5 coverage grade. Rasul Douglas allowed 5 receptions on 8 targets for 51 yards. He had 1 pass breakup, and of course that 1 interception, that game-winning interception on A.J. Green, where it looked like A.J. Green's controller disconnected, and Rasul Douglas came away with the back shoulder interception, ended the game. Love it because he was just we acquired him off the Cardinals practice squad. He said he knew the check, and that's pretty much how he knew what was coming, got the interception. He's been a godsend at corner with how banged up the Packers cornerback room has been. Kevin King didn't play in this game. We obviously know Jair Alexander's been out. Isaac Yadam is garbage. So just a complete godsend at corner so far. He only allowed a 41.1 quarterback rating this game. And as I said, just such a great signing. He's proven to be such a great starter in the absence of a couple corners opposite, Eric Stokes. And he should start at cornerback going forward. Definitely when Kevin King comes back, I think Rasul Douglas should still be starting at that corner spot. So now moving on to the defensive losers, and the lowest graded defender this week was linebacker Chris Barnes. By a long shot. He had a 29.5 overall grade, a 45.7 run defense grade, a 40.7 tackle grade, and a 31.6 coverage grade. And somehow this game was not his lowest graded game this year. As you see, a 29.5. He had a 28.5 against Chicago. Only 13 snaps. This week he played 38 snaps. Definitely his worst coverage grade game. But like I said, 38 snaps, 2 tackles, 1 missed. He allowed 4 receptions on 4 targets for 44 yards, which is 11 yards per catch, which is awful. And awful is a word for Chris Barnes because he looked awful out there. The Packers really need to figure out their linebacker 2 situation. As I said in a couple previous videos, it's Devondre Campbell and then everyone else. They just cut Jalen Smith because he didn't work out after 2 games after being a healthy scratch in this game. But they need to figure out their linebacker 2 situation. Chris Barnes, I thought, would be the guy going into this season. Last year he played okay. He played, above average. And the signing of Devondre Campbell is proving to be more and more valuable just because if we were stuck to, say, Chris Barnes and Oren Burks at this rate, probably this defense would not be near as what they are now. So definitely need to figure out that linebacker 2 spot. And lastly, for the defensive losers, it's another joined combo of Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary here. They were both tied for the second lowest PFF grade, both with a 45.7 overall. Now, Preston was a lot worse in the run defense and tackle grades compared to Gary, but although Preston Smith had 3 pressures and Gary had 2 pressures, so the fact that they had 3 and 2 pressures, 5 total pressures combined, doesn't really, give me a great show why they were graded so low. It could be because they were out of position a lot or getting beat on the plays they didn't get the pressures. But Preston Smith came back from that oblique injury, and who knows how much that is affecting him. As you see, Preston Smith played 35 snaps, and Rashawn Gary played 36. But if you look at Rashawn Gary's grades throughout the year, just definitely a weird, rare off game for him. And then Preston Smith, the game he got hurt in Chicago, he wasn't playing well, but that's only 8 snaps. And also with him, didn't have a good game in Pittsburgh, but he's also been playing really well this year. So just a very rare occurrence for both these guys to have such low grades. But I don't expect that going forward. But overall, this was such an electric win. If you didn't see my reaction, go down to the video on my channel. I had a live stream. I was live streaming during the game, which I do every week. So definitely come by when we play the Chiefs here this Sunday, because that will hopefully be another electric game, because we're going to be at greater odds this week with Aaron Rodgers being out, obviously, with COVID-19. The news broke today, just, going to be at greater odds. I think the line went from Packers +1 to Packers +8, or 7.5 or 8. So it just shows how much Aaron Rodgers means to this football team. I think Jordan Love should do well against the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense is just not good. It's going to be a good game. I would be, so insanely happy if Matt LaFleur somehow pulled this one off. It would just really cement his coach of the year status in my eyes. But we're going to see how the offense grades with Jordan Love at the helm next week. But I want you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of these grades? Do you agree or disagree with them? Just leave that down in the comments below. But on that note, I'll catch you on the next one. As always, go Pack Go.